No, I mean like because the reason why like we talked about this previous before. We're like, yo, if we're asking these questions, like observe, right? Because we want you guys to spill the beans, So, but I know Miles wanted to say something, so
Well, following up, there's a lot to say, but I'll try to get my 2 points across. Thanks y'all for sharing your stories, and like I can corroborate these stories. I can corroborate having said certain things when I was younger because I thought that, oh, this is the way that I'm supposed to act, saying things like, oh, white women don't give me attitude or blah blah blah. Like, these are the things that when I'm younger, I think is supposed to, I'm going with the stereotype, right? But um, growing older, meeting more black people, meeting more black women, um, I'm finding that feeling that y'all are talking about like how there's a connection there that you just don't get anywhere else. And there's things that just don't need to be spoken about. And if they are spoken about, then it's from a place of understanding as opposed to like teaching. And me personally, I've been interested and dated people from all kinds of backgrounds and ethnicities. And what I've found is I always have to do some level of teaching in the relationship. You know what I mean? And um, another thing that bothers me, especially as of late, and especially as I experience more things, is like, okay, I like you, but when we go home, what are your parents gonna think? You know what I mean? Like, I was recently at the house of someone that I was interested in, and their parents came home, and I was in the kitchen like, hey, I'm nice to meet you. You know what I mean? Like, gotta play it up, like, so that the parents love you and everything. And it's like, it's great when the parents aren't racist. That's always a great thing. But the whole time leading up to it is like, what's it gonna be? Am I gonna have to cancel your parents when I meet them, and we're gonna have to cancel this relationship? Um, so like that's kind of been my experience. But one thing I also wanted to touch on, um, I think you've all kind of said it, but Olga stressed it, how black men are extra aggressive going up to her. And um, one thing I want to point out, and that Romeo and I've been talking about with some of my other black friends, black male friends, is that there's an expectation of us black men to want sex and to be hypersexual. You know what I mean? And a lot of the areas that we step into, it's like that's already the expectation of us when we walk into the room. And um, that's what's taught to us as just men, is go get that prize, right? So when that's taught to us and it's taught to other people that that's all we want as black men, um, we have to develop that thing. We have to learn as we get older how to say no as well. That's another thing. We have to learn whether or not we even want that. You know what I mean? We have to learn, what do we want. um, and that's been a thing because we find ourselves in uncomfortable situations, and I don't think anyone wants to be in those. But I'm gonna pass it off. That was just my piece of the hypersexualization of black men, and how do we like deal with that? How do we get to a place where we can just be sensitive and sensual and like compassionate, empathetic, and soft with y'all?
I actually want to add on top of that. Sorry, Paul, for I knew you wanted to talk. My
Yeah,
bad.
it's so good, bro.
My
So
bad.
good, bro.
I just wanted to add on to that. The women made some good points, and one of the points that I really want to touch upon is the emotional intelligence, right? Just like Miles, like I've dated many people from many backgrounds. Some of them I regretted, some of them I haven't. And one thing that like I can say of each relationship that I took away from was that like I wasn't able to open myself up more, right? That like I had to like, build a wall. And like, rightfully so, I felt like, why should I open myself up to something where I don't know which direction it's going, right? But at the same time, I feel like I've always had this thing about me where it's kind of like, I can't be light skinned, like, or like I can't pillow talk or whatever, right? And I feel that just comes down to, you know, um, the way people have taught us stuff and the way we've been raised, right? Like for example, like Olga can attest to this, like in an African household, I've never really seen like, you know, my uncles kiss my aunts ever, you know, like at least like being like, oh, I love you, dear, like have a good day, whatever. It's just them coming home,
Uncles
you
be
know.
having uncles be having 10 kids, but it's just like how? Like
How exactly? For
like
real,
I never
yo,
see you
for
I
real,
never see you hug, like but y'all
for
have
real,
a whole
no
12
hugs,
kids.
bro, no holding hands, no nothing, bro. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not with everybody, right? But it's like
Yo.
there's a lot. You have like 15 kids, but bro, have you even kissed your wife? No. Like, like literally,
Yeah,
that's
you
what
get
it
older, you
is.
start questioning. You're like, how did
Yo, like, what's
they share a room?
happening?
I'm like, y'all really share a room? I don't
Yeah,
think
do y'all
so.
really share a room? Like, yo, like, is she Virgin Mary? Like, what's happening? Like, but pretty much my point is that like, you know, even like with that, right? Like, it's like we see, you know, our like, I don't like to call them role models because I've never like liked them, but we we quote unquote, right, look at our role models and like they teach us stuff and then look at us and being like, no, like this is how a man is. Like, a man doesn't give up emotions, a man doesn't talk about his feelings, a man doesn't talk about his day. He just comes home, he turns on the TV, eats, and goes to bed and gets stuff done, right? And I can, like, in a way I understood it because I'm like, yo, like, you know, if you're taking care of 5 kids and you just came to Canada and you're on an immigration visa, right? Like, you know, a lot of stuff goes through your head and like you don't really have time to be like, you know, to embrace stuff. It's like go, 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 right? But at the same time, I felt like, you know, the stuff that I've been taught as a kid was basically like, yo, as men, like, nah, like if she asks you like, how do you feel about me? Like, you just want to be like, you cute. Like, what else you want me to say? Like just stuff like that, right? And like, I've I've realized that, like, you know, as a black man, right, that gets pushed on us so heavy, like super heavy, and I feel like a lot of us lack, you know, opportunities in great relationships when it comes to that, right? Because I feel like, you know, everybody talks about black love, but I feel like black love is really, it just, you know, I said this in the thing, Olga and Juice, like, it really just comes down to loving yourself first, right? Like, being able to, you know, look within yourself and be like, you know what, like, I do have insecurities, but that's okay, let's move, you know? So that's the thing that I wanted to add on top of that. And I think when it comes down to like interaction with women, specifically black women, I feel like, you know, a lot of us use that approach, which isn't fair to them, because it's like, you know, all of us are human, we all want, you know, someone to talk to, some sort of connection. It's kind of weird because like when it's like, you know, for example, like a Spanish shorty or an Indian shorty, like that's attractive to them, right? Because it's like, oh, you know, he's so, but it's like, you know, to our women, it's like, yo, like, why do you have to do that? Like, why do you have to have this facade with me, right? Like I see, basically, like I see through you. That's how I feel about that situation. But